welcome to episode 11. And you might realize again that this might be recorded one after each other because it's the exact same background and clothing and so on. But
yeah. Anyhow, what's the topic of today?
So this is again listener feedback. So I was having a great lunch with the listener, a great fan of Skimle last week, and he was like, "Hey, I have a lot of like customer feedback data, but it's very short and very it's not a academic interview type of thing, and you never talk about that in Skimle Ask. Can I use Skimle Ask for that?" And I was like, yes, we have a lot of users who are doing customer insights or user.
And not just Skimle Ask, but Skimle.
Yeah, exactly. Can you use Skimle for that? And I was like, yeah, and maybe we should talk about that more and kind of how do you do it? And in doing that, let's also talk about the metadata variable analysis engine or whatever. We don't really have these marketing names, but this feature of metadata analysis, because that's very much kind of tied into it. So so if I open a bit and then I'll kind of let Henry you explain how it thinks. But imagine you are you're either collecting customer feedback with some form or using Skimle Ask like in the previous episode, but you have a bunch of or you have a table with a bunch of text. You know the age of the person, the product they're using, maybe the satisfaction score they give you, and then you have a bit of like open text, or maybe it's maybe you have all of that and it's like a audio transcript, or you have a lot of like you have a table with a lot of metadata, and then you have some open text, and this is really a sweet spot for Skimle. So how does it process it?
Well, as typically the Skimle identifies themes even from small snippets, right? And we had one customer actually that had a CSV file with 3,000 rows from an online forum and analyzed it successfully and was very happy. Yeah. So it you still have to define what you want, right? Do you want criticism? Do you want feedback from certain perspective, right? And then it creates the categories. And even with the sparse data, then you can like see that, okay, how many people talk about this, how many people talk about that.
Yeah. And maybe worth mentioning, like, how does it create the categories? So, because what we see a lot of time, people are using kind of a simple word filter. So like if the word happy is mentioned and there's not a not before it, then sentiment is is one, and like that's not how Skimle works, right?
Yeah. So we're using large language models first to kind of extract what is this exactly about, but then we have this iterative process where we inductively build these categories, and there are multiple ways to do it in Skimle. The typical thing is that you define high-level categories. So I want like observations about my product, complaints, like positive things. And then it forms within these categories, it forms subcategories inductively that capture in a parsimonious way what are the things people
exactly. So the mental model I would have is like you would hire a master's student to actually read through each of the lines and first say, is this a critique or a comment, for example, if that's your research question, and then what is it about, and then start to create those buckets as they go along. So you don't have to define the categories or the buckets or the themes. That smart master's student will start to realize, the whatever the price of the product seems to be a quite big pile. So they will say, okay, this is price. When the pile gets big, they will say, okay, good, there's maybe the initial price and the subscription price. So they will start to divide the pile smartly, and like it's really like how a smart human would process. But then never getting tired, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Doing it.
And doing it really fast, right? So like you can have in a typical thing, right? This older technology would have like technical problems buckets, and then somebody would look at that like now and then, not too often, right? But Skimle can immediately start categorizing things, and let's say like people start complaining about two-factor authentication, it will pop up as its own category. You see there's a new category, how many people are in this category, what type of people are in that category. Now we get to the metadata already.
And that's the cool part, because I think one is you just get like, okay, this is what is happening. How does metadata change it? So first of all, what is metadata? Is the open text response or the call logs or whatever, but you also know something about the person. Maybe it's the product they use, the age, and so on. And that's kind of metadata. At minimum, you will know when they called you or when this thing was collected. So tell a bit like how we use that.
So now we actually created a new metadata editor where you can import metadata also very easily. So if you have any IT systems that export Excel files or CSV files, you can import it.
But you can do it manually. If
you can even enter it manually. So if you know, like, you can write the personality. This is a grumpy person. And this is like,
But basically, so every row you can easily say what are the things we know about it. Right? That's the starting point. Yes.
And row is basically
a response or a
response or a transcript or So metadata we use in a few different ways. First of all, you can filter with metadata and you can look at like statistics within a category. So you can see, okay, in this category, what percentage of respondents are women? What respondents are men? What's the average age? So how many of different age groups there are in this data? But then we have this really, really cool AI feature where we also automatically detect if there's a difference in the content of quotes related to a topic pertaining to some of the metadata. So it could be that that is a category called pricing, right? And we haven't formed any subcategories. That's kind of the category. But we will see that, okay, mathematically, when we look at the characteristics with AI of the quotes there, men and women have different content in their quotes. And then what Skimle does is it automatically detects this. Or let's say this quarter versus previous quarter, somehow it feels that the quotes are not the same. It takes a representative sample and it feeds it to the AI model and says, okay, group 1, group 2, how are these different? Or it could be 3 groups, right? So we see that there are 3 cities we have customers in and they all complain about the kind of the retail experience, but they complain about like somehow different things about it. So then what Skimle does, it detects that there's a difference, it feeds this to AI and says, okay, describe me what are each of these groups saying? And then you get that summary.
And I think that's the beautiful thing, because this is not quantitative analysis. This is qualitative, right? So it's not do they talk more or less, it's what do they talk about that thing, depending on the background. Of course, you can do the simple stuff with the heat map and so on, but really this kind of what's the difference? And I think it's really powerful and smart, and I think it's spooky.
And we invented it, by the way. So this is something we were thinking about this, that like now you can capture the semantic meaning of quotes as a vector, right? So you can think like it gets a bit like technical and engineering. Yeah. But you can think like every metadata, like young people, old people, they have this cloud of quotes, right? In the semantic space. And you can see that, okay, the young people and old people cloud, they can be pretty much the same, or they can be like distinct from one another. And then the question is, okay, what does it mean? Why are they not looking the same?
Yeah. And I think this is, and it's been technical for a while, because I think this was the very starting point of Skimle was that we don't believe in that retrieval augmented generation as the first step in the process. Right? So if you are trying to look for, let's say that you're trying to look for feedback to a piece of legislation, those feedbacks will not necessarily be in the same part in that semantic space, because someone might say that, you know, this legislation will impact taxi drivers negatively, and the other one will say that this will have a bad impact on kind of mobility companies and so on. But they will be kind of in the semantic space, they might be very far apart because they're like different topics and so on. But our model will spot that it's the same. They're both complaints. And so on. So kind of, so our system works better in the initial step, But then once you have recognized that these are complaints, then you can again look at kind of where are they in that vector space. So it's a super. How it works is super cool and technical, and we're really proud of it. What it does for the users is is powerful because it allows them to really like quantify that. So it gives this score around how different are they, and then it tells you exactly like what's the nuance of the difference. Of course, then you can verify it yourself. You can look at just the male quotes and the female quotes, for example, and do your own analysis. Like, are they really different or?
Yeah. And don't ask what the significance score means. That's yet to be established. But
it's the Shield Kappa, I think.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, that one. Yeah.
I have now named it, right?
Okay, we need to collaborate. If you're an academic researcher interested in writing a paper about this, just get in touch with me.
It should be, because I think now, and I think we should and will be part of that debate around what can you really do in analyzing qualitative text now, and like how to take it deeper. Because I think if you take academia in a way, for decades it was limited by the tools it had. So the previous generation tools were really just about finding those categories using basically the large brain model of the researcher and so on. Now, once that is automatic, it should not be that, okay, now, job well done and you need less time. Now the quality bar should go up, right? And we should get deeper into the meaning and into the so what of that data, and kind of faster and deeper.
Yeah. And that actually gets me that let's circle back to the customer data, because one thing that we've been talking and that actually came up really early when I was building like trying to think about the market space for this is customer calls. Telephone calls, telephone transcripts. That this has changed quite a bit. Like already, like only a year ago, people were like, "Can we record customer calls? Sales calls." And now it's becoming more and more normal, right? That you have a Teams call. There's a recording. There's an AI summary of that gets sent. All the calls are recorded, all the chats. Now lots of companies have chat interfaces. The AI chatbots are getting better and better. And all of this data remains kind of underutilized, right? Yep. That if you think, especially the multinational companies or nationwide big companies, like how much insight the customer interactions contain, and what is the time lag between that signal kind of happening out of the noise and then the relevant business leadership being aware of that. And I think Skimle has a lot of potential for this type of picking up the signals from naturally occurring customer data, right? No. And in a way, if customers are interacting so much already with us and in social media, of course, why would we ask them even? Like, why would we send surveys to them? Why do we need to interview them? If we can kind of distill the insights from this data that is already been produced.
Yeah, that's super powerful. Like I was working with this one, like a food delivery service company back in the old days, and they said that they're like one of the best predictors of happiness is not if the customer says after incident, 1 to 5, are you happy and so on. It's the fact that do they order again in the next 2 weeks. So then you could look at which factors in the complaint they had or the email they sent you, kind of which qualitative themes correlate with then the fact that if they buy or not. So then you really can start to understand in a way the what is driving happiness based on the information you have already, instead of needing to collect separate ones. And we're working on this feature of how you can import a lot of that data from your, let's say your Zoom calls or your Copilot transcripts, all of that, because all of that data is sitting there. You get the AI summary per call or per chat or whatever, but you don't really get those common themes across 100 calls again. So it's another thing of like, how do you really tap into that rich information? How do you dig deeper into existing data? So I really think, like, if you look broader, it's like two things. One is Skimle allows to go broader into what do you analyze systematically? So like just the fact that you can now start to analyze the transcripts and the feedback open text in a much more systematic way, not just the word counts and all of that. So you can go much broader, but then also this depth of like, hey, if you're really as an academic or as a if a business person, and the same tool to enable both experts to do it, how do you then really start to spot these kind of nuances in it that, this metadata variable that we never thought about actually explains, because Skimle will do all of those analysis, right? Automatically. You don't have to have a hypothesis. It's going to do all of them. And then you get this, false positives and so on. Like, hey, this is, it's kind of obvious that maybe the gender affected this answer. It's not a finding, but this might be something that, hey, why is this week everyone calling about this new thing?
Yeah. The male employees complain about different things. Then that's not always super exciting. Yeah, but this is exactly true. That like you can imagine that you have a big data set. You have 10 main categories. Each of them have like 10 subcategories. You have 100 categories of different type of like observations. And then you have 50 different metadata variables, right? Like what products they have, where they live, age, stuff like that. And Skimle will just go through them all. Like no human can do that, right? Like you have 5,000 different combinations of things that could explain or be explained. And yeah, that's really powerful. And that's kind of the type of qualitative analysis we can now do in the age of AI that we couldn't do before.
Yeah, so broader and deeper and faster and
stronger.
Yeah, that sounds like that's probably like some music.
Yeah. No, that's Kraftwerk.
Yeah.
Great. Is that all we have about customer?
I think for now, and yeah, if you're a listener and you have some comments or topics to talk about, or some areas, just either buy lunch or just send an email, whichever is easier for you. So always happy to discover the topics. But thank you. Enjoy. One more thing.
One more thing, by the way. So the metadata analysis is pretty new, so we are improving it a lot still. So it works great, but it will work even greater.
Yeah.
It will be the greatest.
And if you are a customer insights professional, market researcher, or kind of happy Skimle user or unhappy Skimle user, we're happy to develop it with you. So if there's some report that hey, now with the power of the metadata analysis, or with any other feature, I wish I could see it in whatever, like this type of report that you always did manually. We're really happy to put that as part of the product as well, and really make this the power tool for more and more users.
Yeah.
Because we are about the product, but to get the product better, we sometimes have to talk to the...
No, we are about happy customers.
Yes.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.